Hey Sam, guess what?
What?
We ain't getting off the bus yet.
No, we're not. Man, that game against Buffalo was freaking amazing according to Bussi standards. Like, good gosh. He just keeps showing another level that we haven't seen, you know?
Yeah, 4 or 5 saves from that game are going to be in his career montage when it's all said and done. But yeah, that was the most entertaining game against Buffalo we've seen probably since '06. So that's a dangerous team, man, and they're getting good quick. So good on the Canes and especially Bussy for kind of weathering the storm because you could tell that they wanted that one badly.
Oh yeah, you could. And obviously Chicago game uh wasn't that good from the Hurricanes.
No, they definitely had better efforts, but you know what? The talent and a little bit of clutch got you a point, which now creates a 4 game buffer between you and the rest of the Metro. So you can't win them all, but if you can squeeze a point out of a few of the duds, you got to take that.
Yeah, you definitely do. And uh so yeah, just also another thing too, we have a great partnership with SeatGeek. You get $20 off your first purchase if you use promo code Caniac Report, all one word. It's a great deal if you're trying to save money on some tickets. And also remember, if you are watching us on YouTube, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. And also, if you're listening to us wherever you get your podcasts, please leave a rating and a review. It really, really does help us out. And also, another thing, too, for those of you who actually live in North Carolina watching this, you probably know this, but we have a ice storm approaching, and we might not be able to do an episode Monday. We will post it on the socials just to make you guys know on Sunday, the day before, to let you guys know if we will be able to do an episode or not, because uh, ice is very bad when it's on the roads, on the power lines, and because of that, no power, no internet whatsoever. So yeah. So Andrew, I know in the last episode when I discussed a couple of news, but I want to get your take on the huge Rasmus Anderson deal. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it seemed like he was part of a bidding war for a long time, but going to Vegas, I mean, they keep getting their guy. It's just a well run team, ruthless and cutthroat as all get out, but good on Calgary for not dragging this out longer than they had to. I think they might have been smart to make the trade in the offseason so they could actually let their assets or whoever players they bring in get more time together. But um, yeah, Vegas, I think, is trying to kind of reestablish themselves in the West with just how good Colorado's looking. And I think Anderson's a good step towards that.
Yeah, he definitely is. That makes their blue line even deadlier. And Vegas, you can tell they're eyeing for that Stanley Cup. Um, anything from the Calgary side of things?
Just I think that fan base needs to embrace the idea of going through what teams like San Jose and Chicago have gone through because you're seeing how when you actually bite the bullet and cash in on the good players you do have for assets that you can turn it around kind of quickly. So hopefully they're going to go through. Well, hopefully for their sake, they're going to go through more of a Chicago San Jose phase and less of a Buffalo phase.
Yeah. You think what do you think the Rangers direction is going to be? Obviously, they sent that letter to their fans on retooling. I mean, it's been quite a few years since their last uh, uh, letter to their fans.
Right, which I'm torn on that concept in general because, like, I know we like for the Canes to be as transparent with us as possible, but there's something
Yeah.
about publicly throwing in the towel like that before the trade deadline that I feel like kind of kind of takes away from your negotiating power that you're making it very clear to league. I mean, granted, they're in last place in the East, so I mean, it is
Yeah,
what it
they
is.
are.
But there's no excuse for that team to be that bad. And I mean, I think Mike Sullivan's a good coach. That or he's just gotten to ride the coattails of Crosby for his career, but I don't think that's the case. Um, As for what they do, I don't know. All I know is that there is a scrappy Italian gentleman that I would love to see come back to Raleigh.
Oh yeah, I would too. But honestly, I think the biggest thing when it comes to the Rangers of what their problem is lies in their general manager more than the head coach.
It might be more with the owner than the general manager. That's kind of a top down. Just seems like a toxic place to play. I mean, if you can handle it, I can think of a few places I'd rather be a famous, rich local celebrity than New York City. I know people aren't gonna want to hear that because obviously that's something the Canes have to fight against.
Oh yeah.
But but man, when it's going bad, that city will turn on you quick. And I can say, just from having relatives that are big Rangers fans, they're ready to sell everybody.
I don't blame them. Really, really don't. Even though I still think on paper they're a good team, like what you said. So the next news I want to talk about. This is more current news now. But Andrew Josh Doan, he's extended for 7 years at $6.95 million with Buffalo. Obviously, Buffalo's doing really, really good, and he's doing really good too. He has 35 points in 44 games.
Yeah, they're coming out of the other side of that Paterka trade, looking pretty good. Which I mean, good on them because they caught a lot of heat for that. Um, I think Buffalo is finally starting to put it together. At this point, if they fall apart this season, I think that ownership's got to sell it or something because then it's officially cursed if this year they don't break through. But
Yeah.
really good young player, really talented as we just saw. But I like the contract for him. I was always a big fan of his dad, Shane Doan.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I think they locked up a guy who has all the intangibles to not only be a good player, but a future leader and face of that team. So it seems like a good bit of business for the Sabres.
It really is. I really like the contract because Josh Jones been playing very, very good. Although he has high expectations because of his father.
Oh, for sure.
Yep. The next piece of news, Andrew, we knew this guy was at the top of the trade board. So many rumors surrounding him. He finally gets traded, and that is Kiefer Sherwood from Vancouver. He gets traded to a team that I was a little bit surprised about, San Jose. And Vancouver gets 2 second-round picks for 2026, 2027, along with a prospect. I was surprised it was San Jose, Andrew.
Yeah, me too. I was expecting more of a bona fide contender to go after him. He was someone I thought the Canes might have even looked at because he does provide a little bit of that grit. But San Jose, man, they're becoming a factor and quickly. I don't think this is going to be their year, but in 2, maybe even 3 years, I think we're going to be talking about them as like a legit contender because those young players are really good. And now you're going to add in a guy who just has a nose for the back of the net and just plays with just reckless abandon like him. And that can really open up some space for all those young, super talented guys they got. So keep an eye on the Sharks, man. I think happier days are coming for that fan base and sooner than later.
Oh yeah, I mean Macklin Celebrini, Andrew, like he's to me automatically in that conversation, probably with the likes of probably Draisaitl and McDavid. He's that good right now.
Yeah, and if not in that direct comparison, like definitely that next category down, which at his age, that's incredible. Super talented guy. We're definitely starting to see the next wave of superstar kind of grab the reins here between guys like Celebrini or even what we saw tonight with Connor Bedard. Just the skill set on these guys is incredible. And it's
Leo Carlson.
Yeah, and now it's just a matter of can these teams put the pieces around these guys to not only allow them to succeed now, but to grow because we've seen it throughout the course of really any sport. You can have the best athlete in the world, but if you're not giving him good complementary pieces, it's all for naught. So a lot of young guys on up and coming teams that I'll be curious as to how we're talking about it 5 years from now.
Definitely. Well, let's start talking about the Hurricanes here, Andrew, as the injury list kind of gotten a little bit longer because, I mean, obviously we know Ghost is out, but Robinson is added to the list. I hated that hit on Robinson, but due to him getting hurt. But looking at it, I do think it was a clean hit.
Yeah, I thought the hit was clean. It was a hit that if someone was in front of our net doing the same thing, not that Robinson was doing anything wrong, he was fighting for the puck, but that's exactly what I would want a Nikishin or a Miller to do. A guy who's focused
Yeah.
on the crease and he's got his heads down. You have to light him up so he thinks twice about going there. No problem with the hit, but that being said, that wasn't the only time that Dahlin kind of played on the edge that game. And you don't
He played, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll never condone any of our guys doing anything dirty in retaliation, but that's definitely a game where if you get a chance to take a legal run at him, you have to. And I did really like the response from the Canes in that game.
Oh yeah, I did too, and obviously I will get to that game here soon. And also another thing too, Andrew, I found this pretty cool. In the NHL, their official YouTube channel released a video on Sebastian Aho. Apparently, he's part of a series of the My Word series, or whatever you like to call it. But that was a very good video. Did you see that, Andrew?
I haven't gotten a chance to check that out yet, but I do, whether it's Aho in that or Jarvis in the thing during the off season, I do love that
Yeah.
we're starting to see the stars on this team finally get a little bit of the recognition that they deserve. Because for a long time, if it wasn't the rare, Eric Stahl making the cover of the NHL game, there was little to nothing you were seeing, at least in the States, as far as individual Hurricanes players go. So I do like seeing that change.
Oh, I definitely do too. And like with both games this week, both were on national television. So it's just nice seeing the Hurricanes getting that national exposure. I know there are Canes fans, Andrew, that are like, I do not want to see this team on national television because they can play poorly.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about being a fan, right? Is kind of hyping up those little curses and trends.
Yep.
There's obviously nothing real going on there, but I know me personally as a fan, I didn't like that I had to listen to the first two periods of tonight's game on the radio because of Hulu having issues. So it's just the wild west of streaming and cable right now, where all these companies are trying getting a piece of the pie. So hopefully it gets better and not worse, because if it keeps going this way, you're going to need like 6 different services to watch every game, and that's just obnoxious.
Yeah, it really is. I remember you text me that during the Chicago game. I was like, "Good gosh, what's wrong with streaming?"
Yeah, I've never really had a problem with it until the night. I know some people were saying, "Oh, we'll just go on Disney," but I don't have the Disney Hulu package, so
That's how I watched it.
okay. So luckily, the NHL, to their credit, you can go to the NHL app and you can actually stream the local radio broadcast. So I wasn't totally in the dark, and then for whatever reason, it started to work in the third. So I got to catch the third in the overtime period. Which, if the rest of the game was that exciting, then I'm sorry I missed it. But from just what I've kind of gathered, it sounds like things kind of ratcheted up in the last few minutes there.
Yeah, it did. But yeah, that's kind of it for Hurricanes new stuff. Actually, you know what, Andrew? There's one question I want to ask you, because I actually asked this to a few friends I know that are Canes fans. Obviously, we know Nikishin's on his last year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
What type of contract do you think he might get?
Oh boy, so everything around him right now is so fascinating, because he's definitely coming into his own. The offense has always been there. You can tell he's playing with a little bit more confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the development of his lateral movement along the blue line, but now we're seeing him make more and more defensive plays and less defensive lapses. So he's smart for writing this season out, because if he had signed even a month ago, I think it's a considerable less than what he could get now. I'm guessing probably a 2 to 3 year bridge deal. Depending on how the rest of the season goes, I could see him getting 4 or 5 mil for what he provides.
Yeah.
Especially if the offense continues. That being said, one of the interesting things about him, and this is that time of year where every player is apparently being traded. but he is someone you keep seeing brought up. I wouldn't do that if I didn't have to, but I mean, if the contract negotiations aren't going well, if he were included in a trade, I think that should be kind of an assumed thing that's going on right now. Not that I have any reason to think that it is, but I would offer him, like, at most, I would offer him 3x5, 3x6 for what he's doing.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'd probably give him a. It's tough because do you want to give him that Stanko and Blake type of contract where you want to lock him up, be a little bit risky, or do you want to play it safe with Nikishin? I can see it going both ways. But I probably do a short term. I probably do maybe if I could, maybe a 1 year deal because
As the team, I'd love to lock him up long term.
I
As the
would
player,
too.
there's no way I would.
Yeah.
If I'm him, no way, no way. But I
Yeah.
thought the same thing about Stanko, and I still can't believe that he signed that deal because I think in 4 or 5 years that's going to be a steal. It looks like he's making good money now, but him and Blake both, when that gets to when they're 26, 27, if their trajectory stays the same. But Nikishin's coming into this, with all the hype. Like, he's not a smaller guy who had to grind his way through college and is now not surprising people, because I'm sure anyone who watched the two of them play when they were younger is going to say that, we always could see this happening. Nikishin came to the States and he's still not quite what the hype was.
Yeah, he's not. That's the thing.
Which is saying something because he's awesome right now. Like, I think I might call him one of the 4 best defenders on the team, even without the offense.
And we found out tonight he can fight.
We found out tonight he can bully a kid, basically. Yeah. I mean, usually you want to give a guy credit just for stepping up, but I mean, when you just get it handed to you like that, I mean, I respect the bravery, but buddy, you're on national television. You got to at least throw one.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love the fight, but again, we'll get to that. But Andrew, let's go ahead and get to a sponsor, and then we'll recap both the Buffalo and the Chicago game. The jaw-dropping moments that make hockey hockey. Experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me states. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 25, all rights reserved. All righty, Andrew. Let's get to the Buffalo game. A little bit of a better outcome than the Chicago game. But Buffalo game, I mean, Andrew, this game, we knew Buffalo was hot coming into it, and we were like, can we win this game? And we've had a good track record of winning against Buffalo here at home, all the way back to 2016.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that Buffalo was very aware of that, and they're on this streak now where they're trying to say, whatever you know about us, that's over. So you come into a game against a team like Carolina, who's, say what you want to about playoff success, they're always at the top of the East. So, they've reached that point where they have the target on their back when these teams come in, and just the intensity that they came out and played with, I was very impressed. Not to give too much to in to an opponent, but just knowing how the last decade has been for that team, very impressed with what's going on in Buffalo right now. So that's a better win than it might sound.
Yeah, I'm actually happy for Buffalo. For the record, their fans deserve a break. It's too long for them. Us Canes fans, we resonate.
Oh yeah, no. And Buffalo has also been kind of like what the Canes were.
Yep.
They've only had a handful of seasons where they were like legitimately bad. They've been in that, you know, the purgatory of mid, as we've talked
Yep.
about, and it seems like that's finally starting to take off, which hopefully that's not a problem for us, because I do think the way that they play come playoff time, if the Canes don't add at least one more bigger grit piece, could actually prove to be a little bit tough.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, Buffalo, they showed it within the first few seconds in that first period because you had Rasmus Dahlin coming in and scoring right off the hop. Honestly, probably a goal Bussi should have had, but at
Mm.
the same time, uh, Bussi, he rebounded very, very well after letting in that goal.
Yeah, he did. And even though it's we talk about this a lot, the difference between a savable goal and a bad goal, I'd call that a savable goal only because what a shot.
Oh yeah.
What a freaking shot, man. So sometimes you do have to kind of tip the cap to just an absolute, missile from one of the better players in the league. But that being said, I know Busty would want it back, but you're gonna have things like that happen, and it's how do you respond, and that's something we've wanted to see from Busty more and more as the season's gone on, and he keeps passing every test that's put in front of him, and this one was no different.
Exactly. And then you have Svechnikov scoring from Aho and Walker. That was a great goal, Andrew. And it's funny because you have Don Ling scoring, Svechnikov scoring, and the one thing those two players have in common, they both came from the 2018 draft with Don Ling going number 1, obviously Svech going number 2. I if you disagree with me on this, Andrew, that's fine, but I thought there was some rivalry there between the two players.
Oh no, I don't know if it's been an ongoing thing, but they were definitely jawing at each other all game, and a couple
They
of things
were.
happening, behind the play. But um, I'm sure, you know, you don't forget who gets taken ahead of you, and I have no doubt that that's been burning Svetch, and now that whatever has snapped in his head the last few months that has made him turn into kind of the player we've been waiting to
Yes.
see, and then this sudden connection he has with Aho. I'd love to be able to ask Rod about the days leading up to the two of them being put back together, because they've done it several times and it's never quite gone this well, like not even close really. But Dahlian's a great player. You can tell why he's the captain. But next time we see them Svetch, that's your guy. So play clean, don't do it dirty. But Dahlian took a few runs, so he needs to be public enemy number 1 next time we see Buffalo.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Canes fans really made it known. Like whenever Darlene touched the puck, especially after that hit on Robinson, he was getting booed. But it's 1-1 heading to the second period, and Andrew, in the second period, I mean, the biggest highlight reel, obviously, was Tage Thompson, along with the other Buffalo player whose name I was forgetting. They have a chance to where it's 2-0, basically. And then you have Thompson ultimately shooting the puck. And I think the announcers were even fooled too. They thought that was a goal.
Yeah,
Well,
Maniscalco called it a goal. You saw the little goal graphic change. Like, yeah, they thought that was in. So what a save, man! What a save! And just from start to finish, Bussi was on fire. Obviously you let that first shot in, but the way that he was able to bounce back against a team like Buffalo, who you can tell why they've been on such a big winning streak. They were absolutely humming. So there haven't been a whole lot of games where I think you could say the goalie stole one for us. This was one of those games. Bussi absolutely stole 2 points for us.
Oh, he definitely did. He was making so many great saves. That was obviously the best one. But you can tell toward the end of that game when, like, I mean, the last 10 minutes of that third period, Andrew, like Carolina, they were in defending mode. Like, they could not get out of their own zone, and Bussy was the player that was keeping Carolina in it.
Yeah, kind of a surprising last 10 minutes.
It was.
We know that this team can go into kind of keep away mode as opposed to shell mode, for lack of a better term. They went into shell mode, and you can't do that for that long. So I think you got to give credit to Buffalo for that, for just how they were playing. But again, the story of the game is Bussi. Bussi weathered multiple storms in that game. And we have to give props to the goal scorers for breaking through, because UPL was playing very good in his own right, but
Yeah.
man, Bussi, I'm trying to do my due diligence and have reservations about this guy still, just because it's still a relatively small sample size. But I mean, every time
It's hard to do, though.
Yeah, no, every time I keep saying tap the brakes, he makes me look silly. So I think I'm done with that until he gives me a reason to. That's your number one goalie. Freddie Anderson is starting to look like an extremely high-end second goalie, and let's see if they can keep this rolling.
I know. I'm really liking how both our goalies are doing right now. It also makes me remember too, like Tage Thompson, he probably could have gotten multiple goals that game, because not only did Bussy made that save with his glove, but also like Thompson, he went around like two of our players, and Bussy was able to get his pads on that puck from Thompson. It's like, man, good gosh. And I believe he saved a puck with his mask. Like, good gosh, man.
Yeah, the NHL put out a compilation of his saves, and whenever it's a compilation of goalie saves and it's 90 seconds long, that says something, that they can
It
get that
does.
much content from one game from a goalie. So don't want to beat the dead horse. Just bravo, Bussi, bravo.
I know. And thankfully, obviously, you have the game winning goal in Jarvis, who it was, I believe it was on the power play, but Jarvis, like, he initially shot the puck. It was saved by UPL, and he gets the rebound, and Jarvis scores. So it's nice seeing Jarvis on the scoreboard, Andrew. And it just shows that our top guys have been playing so well until sort of the Chicago game. But I'm willing to give them a pass because they've been playing so well.
Yeah, and even in games like the Chicago game, they've been having moments of clutch where even if they're not good the whole game, they manage to put something together in the third or late in the second to at least get a point out of it. Which, in this case, it was Jarvis. If I remember the goal right, it was he got his own rebound and powered it through. So just tenacity, not giving up on the play. And Jarvis, he plays at one speed. I'm sure you saw the same thing that I saw about how he apparently went into the boards at practice, and we all had to hold our breath about a practice update. So I'd like to see less of that, but at the same time, how do you tell a guy like that to change anything?
I know. That guy's gone through so much. It just amazes you that the guy keeps going. Good gosh.
Yeah, there's a reason why he seems like the pretty cut and dry favorite amongst the younger Caniacs, between the personality and his play style. But man, they better be putting him in like bubble wrap when he leaves the arena, because he just seems like a nut. And I mean that in the best way possible. But.
Yeah. Imagine sitting next to him on a plane ride. Like, I could not stop laughing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seems like he's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah. Or imagine, like, because I think the Canes, this was a long while ago, but I think they released a photo of like which two players would you rather sit in the middle of.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, just imagine if they put Jarvis and Martin up together. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, crack open a beer and just listen. Just you're not getting a word in, buddy. Sorry. You better just enjoy this.
No, you're not. That'd be my type of that'd be the two players I would sit next to. But now the Chicago game, Andrew. Uh, Honestly, I mean, I would say the first period was probably the Carolina's best period. But after that, I don't think Carolina played that good.
No, it definitely seemed like a bit of an emotional hangover from a few games that
Yep. Hmm.
definitely required it. Obviously I wasn't here for the Florida game, but talk about just a emotional release of just several
Yes.
years of frustration. The Buffalo came out and challenged the way that they did, and then Chicago,
9 goals, Andrew. Like, oh my gosh.
yeah, just insanity. And I love that in that game they didn't let their foot off of them. Like that's a game where no, like beating them by that much does mean something. Like there's some games where you win 8-0, and it's not that it doesn't mean anything, but you can you have to take the same look at it that the losing team does, and that they had a really off night, it got away from them quickly, and all that kind of stuff. But against a team like Florida now, like that's years of getting a little bit of retribution. But with Chicago, this felt like a game where they just kind of clocked in and went to work, and they got a point out of it. So it could be worse.
Yep.
Creates a 4-game buffer in the Metro, so they're sitting pretty right now, all things considered. So we can slam our heads against the wall over 1 point and questionable shootout choices, but I mean that there's one thing I think we all kind of scratch our head about with Rod Brindamore. It's his shootout choices.
Oh yeah, yeah, we'll definitely get to that. But like, I mean, you look at this game from a grander scheme of things. Like, you come into this game winning 4 games. Like, I mean, you lose. Like, you're going to lose games. Uh, and I'm sure you and I are both more concerned if they're going on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak. At that point, like, okay, something's up. But you lose a game here and there. That's part of hockey.
Yeah, and there's 82 games. There's a reason that this is a sport that utilizes the 7-game series in the playoffs, because you do have games like this. But that being said, if this is one of those games and you're still walking away with a point, then I think it's kind of just got to turn the page. You look at what works, you try to build on it, you fix a few mistakes. I would not want to be Keandre Miller in the film study tomorrow,
Yeah.
because this was the worst game he's had in a while, which, I don't think there's too much to read into there. Just, a little bit of live and learn. Maybe when you're guarding a 2-on-1, you got to look for the rebound tune and not just cover the pass. But, this is what the season's all about. It's all about these guys gelling and finding their role. So come playoff time, they're ready. And silly as it sounds, this game is going to give them a lot of stuff to learn to get to that level.
Oh yeah, definitely. So the first goal in the Chicago game, obviously, that was scored by Mikhailov, and I thought he was Chicago's best player in that game. It wasn't Bedard; it was Mikhailov
I
on the
agree.
Chicago game.
I agree. He was noticeable all game. Obviously the announcers, every time 98 touches the puck, that's all they're going to talk about. But for as much as that kid's just natural skill set shows through, you're right. Michaela was definitely the driving force for their win tonight.
Oh yeah, and it was just frustrating because that was a shorthanded goal, and I do think because of the amount of power plays that we had, part of the reason why we lost and why we didn't really play good, because the power play wasn't good. I would say the last one was probably the best one though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree. I think you have to give some credit to Chicago. One of
Yes,
the
I
best
will.
penalty kills in the league, and the Canes' power play lately has been kind of clicking. So
It has.
I wouldn't expect a team like Chicago to get away with giving up 5 power plays in one game again. Um, yeah, just a bit of a stinker from the special teams perspective in this game, which is something we haven't gotten particularly used to. Even when the power play is not scoring, it's usually not a huge detriment, as it is just kind of a wasted opportunity. Tonight, it was a detriment.
Oh yeah, it was. But a couple of good things did come from this game. One of them, Joel Nystrom, Andrew, he finally got his first goal in the NHL. Great goal, great pass from KK. And while I don't think the Canes played good, I mean, great first goal for Nystrom, but I thought the KK line and the Stahl line were easily probably the best lines in that game.
Yeah, Kotkaniemi on the wing with Jankowski has actually been kind of clicking. I don't think it's enough that it should change any long-term plans
Yeah.
with Kotkaniemi on this team. I don't know if you saw. I'm not going to say any quotes because I'll misquote him, but I do like what Kotkaniemi had to say when he was asked pretty point blank about the situation. Seems like he's not ignorant that it's his fault. Maybe there needs to be a change. I guess he and Rod aren't really talking about much because there's not much to talk about. They both know what it is. And I thought that was a very that was a professional answer from a guy who, hopefully he figures it out here. That's obviously the best case scenario for any player on your team is that they figure it out. But I think he still has all the tools he needs to be a solid NHL player. It's something between the ears, and I don't know what it is. But passes like that, I mean, that was a skillful play to even find him. And hats off to Nystrom on his first goal. Not really an offensively gifted defender from what we've seen, but I think from what he's done this season, he deserves to get a couple of cookies like that. So, Nystrom, when we look back on the season, he's a guy that I think, had he not done what he's done this year, the season could have gone out of hand very quickly. So I'm glad to see him get the reward there.
Yes, definitely. And then in the second period, a few things happen. You have Chicago scoring again with Lardis scoring. I thought that was more of a misassignment from Nikishin, to be honest, than on Anderson. But I mean, you have Stahl scoring on a 2-on-1 chance the other way. And I think, Chicago, I thought they showed more effort, probably a little bit more than Carolina, I would say. But at the same time, we know Carolina on paper is better than Chicago. And I think that's kind of what was showed tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it for what it is. I think a lot of fans had this idea that the team's going to give you a Game 7 playoff effort every night. That's just not possible.
No.
To do 82 games and then do it in the playoffs. And that's not to make excuses for a poor performance. They're paid what they're paid for a reason. But this was a game that Chicago, if they want to be buyers at the trade deadline, they need to start stringing together some wins here. Whereas Canes, them getting a point, this will probably be the fourth or fifth time that I've said it. This point tonight puts them in a 4-game cushion in their division. So, the Canes can leave this game with an overtime loss and be not happy about it, but you can build on it. Chicago needed these 2 points and needs to continue racking up 2 points. Otherwise, this is just another season. And granted, a very positive trajectory for them, but you could just tell that this one just meant more for them, and it should have.
Yeah, it really has. And then also in the second period, Andrew, Nikishin, he lays a big hit. Oliver Morris no. And here's the thing, it was a clean hit. But regardless, I think if you're a fan of any type of team, you like to see players stand up, regardless if it's a clean hit or not. And Oliver Moore, he did step up now. I think he learned not to do it again against a guy like Nikishin. Yes, Nikishin, when I saw that fight, Andrew, I was like, wow. He's a guy you don't want to mess with, and I loved that.
Yeah, and I hope in the playoffs we see that side of him unleashed a bit more.
Oh, yeah.
He just seems like there's a mean streak to him that hasn't been fully unlocked yet. But yeah, that was a whooping on the birthday boy. We'll give him all the props for stepping up, standing up for your teammates, all of that, and I mean that with the utmost respect. I hope my kind of joking demeanor is not taking away from that, but all those nice things to be said. Yeah, whooping. The kitchen apps absolutely took it to him, and it's just another thing that's making him quickly becoming one of the more valuable guys on this team. And I hope that the Canes are able to keep him around long term, because I do think he fits this system really, really well.
Yeah, he's starting to play a lot better. But those hits, man, I was like, is he like Ivan Drago on skates? If you got that reference, you know?
Love it. That's so. This has been happening the last handful of games where the Canes throw a hit, and because they don't want to be about the after the whistle nonsense unless it's necessary, they throw a big hit. They kind of goad the other team into being mad about it, and
Mm-hmm.
they draw an instigator penalty.
Yep.
So having been on the other side of that for many many years, that's one of the most encouraging trends I've seen over these last few games. Even
Yes.
without the wins, just that they're throwing bigger hits, but they're playing more physical while still kind of holding true to what they want to be about, which I like that. Would I love to pick up a guy like, say, a Trocheck who, does a little bit more of the after the whistle stuff? 1,000%. But do I love the idea of our team being the one that says, hey, I'm going to throw a big hit. And if you want to act a fool afterwards, you can drop the gloves first and you can take the 2 minutes and I'll
Yep.
laugh at you when we're skating back to the bench after my team scores. That's how I want this team to go about it. And that's what they've been doing. So love to see that. Such an encouraging development from this team.
Oh yeah, and Walker putting up those big hits too, like he did. Man, just loving the physicality recently.
Yeah.
But in the third period, again, it's kind of the same thing. Chicago scores, Connor Murphy scores. I was a bit surprised in how that goal was formed, Andrew, because it seemed like that was Stahl's man right there, and he kind of was drifting a little bit. But regardless, you have Stankoven coming in very, very hot. He was able to kind of pass it to Blake, scores, ties it up, goes into overtime, and then there's the shootouts. I mean, I like to see Svetch. I like that he scored.
Yeah, and just to backtrack a tad, I thought it was kind of funny. So Murphy scores that goal. I
Yeah.
didn't know Murphy had handles like that. Like that was a pretty sick
I
move
know.
by him. I think both Freddie and Walker, if they would look back on it and say, "I wish I had gone for the puck a half second sooner," and then that probably negates the goal. But shout out to a defensive defenseman to a team
Yep.
pulling off that move. But if you go back and watch the Stankoven goal, it actually goes off Murphy's stick, and that's what kind of makes it go more directly into the blue paint towards Blake. So that was kind of funny that he
Karma.
gave it back in a way. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And then the overtime was entertaining. I think the first 4 minutes, it was very impressive how Chicago kept the puck, because that's one thing Carolina
was
very good at, is that they will maintain possession. What they do with it, to be determined, but good luck getting the puck from those guys. So credit to that. The shootout, we were talking about this before we started recording. The only thing I can say is maybe Jankowski and Miller both scored at the last practice in the shootout. So Rod was going with something that I just saw, but I don't know, Rod. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe because he's so fast. Jankowski, no. What is that?
Yeah, it's just like, to me, like I understand what the other side would say, be like, well, if you look at the shootout, it's basically a flip of a coin toss. And I'm like, well, yeah, it kind of is, but it's also a skills competition at the same time. And don't you want your a little bit more skilled guys to be out there first?
Yeah, and any team that's ever had UC Jokinen on it should know better than to call it a coin flip. Like, I think you can say it for the goalies, it's a bit of a coin flip, because if the best player in the world makes a great move and you're one-on-one, then you're cooked. There's not a whole lot you can do. But for a shooter, I think it's a matter of, either you're aggressive enough to catch the goalie off guard, or you're patient enough to let the goalie make the move first. And I think, a guy like Miller with his speed, I think he can do the first one. I think he can just come in and just overwhelm with the speed and power. Do the antithesis of a Kuznetsov goal, if you remember his.
Goal.
But Jankowski, like, he's got a bit of a gritty goal scorer's touch. But I mean, is he someone that if he's on the breakaway, you're not kind of going, why did it have to be him?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not the best skater. That's one thing about Jankowski, and I feel like, I mean, in the shootout, you have probably maybe a little bit more leeway just because it's just you and the goalie. But at the same time, I've always thought you need to have some speed in order to score.
Yeah,
So-
I'd rather have any of our defensemen go ahead of Jankowski. I think they have more one-on-one offensive ability than Jankowski.
And I love Jankowski.
Oh
Like,
yeah, no
I
slouch.
prefer him over KK, but it's just shootout. No, sorry.
In the skills competition, maybe not actually, but I mean, and if you're talking about, you know, if there's a loose puck or around the net and we need someone to go get it, yeah, he's towards the top of my list of guys I want
Yeah.
out there, just dog on a bone style play. Like, love that he's on this team. He's really kind of established himself, I think, as the 4C with the winning faceoffs, the way that his line mates, you know, whether it's really anyone who's been in that revolving door of a fourth line, they all kind of look good next to him. So no slide at Jankowski, who it's been very impressive the role he's been able to carve out for himself coming over from Nashville as a player. I think none of us ever really particularly heard of. So, you know, don't want to throw any slide at him, but yeah, I would rather see Jacob Slavin than him in a shootout, straight up.
Agreed. I think Jankowski will be at the bottom of both of our lists, like the very, very bottom.
Yeah,
But
maybe ahead of Chatfield, but aside from that, I can't think of it.
yeah, exactly. Well, great episode. And thank you guys if you're still listening to my little bit crummy voice.
Get well soon, buddy.
Yeah. Throat issues, but it'll go away eventually. So we will see you guys maybe Monday.